Okay, tell me about when you guys first came to Clareton and times were hard, how you made ends meet with the moonshine business.
No, we didn't do moonshine in Clareton.
What'd you do?
My dad had a grocery store.
Yeah,
We were fairly well to do,
yeah.
and he had a big truck. And my Uncle Nick would drive the truck back and forth and pick up produce, bring it back and sell it. And then my Uncle Nick wrecked the truck. And then in 1927, the Depression hit, and my dad moved the family from Clareton. We went to Cleveland, and then we went to Louisville. And we stayed in Louisville, and that is when he started making Syrian whiskey and regular bootleg whiskey.
Nicholas, you gonna confirm that story? Is that accurate?
No, he don't know nothing about it. I was the only one.
You were the still. Tell him about the still.
I was the only one that used to help my dad. My dad would set the still up on Friday afternoon when I came home from school. He'd have it in a bathtub in the bathroom. And he'd put the mash in there and then start the brewing, distilling, and put a gallon jug underneath the spigot. And it would start dripping Syrian whiskey or American whiskey, whichever one he was making. And I had to watch that gallon. Every time it started to fill, I'd take it out and replace it with another gallon. And the first gallon that come out, it used to be maybe 180, 190 proof. And then you took 3 or 4 more gallons until it got down to about 80 proof or 70 proof. And then you mixed them all together, and then you had a whiskey that was 90 proof maybe, or maybe 100 proof.
How old were you when you were doing this?
14, 15.
Where was all your brothers? Yeah, where were
And
you at?
then the funny part about it was when we lived across from George W. Moore School in Louisville on Floyd Street, and there was a school there. And Eddie was in there with this still, and this is true. When Dad said, okay, break the still down, Eddie, the whole house was closed, all the windows, and no smell could go out from the whiskey.
Because you get busted.
Yeah, and then here's the best part. Dad said, Eddie, break the still down. Well, Mom went to the potbelly stove and she put potatoes on there and fried them. And the whole house, because it became smoky, then Eddie broke the still down and the alcohol mixed in with the fried potatoes. And then Dad said, open the windows up. And when the window was opened, all the smell went out, it was fried potatoes. And the neighbors next door said, Mrs. Meena burns her cooking again.
Yeah, she did. She used to burn potatoes to take away that smell from the still.
And then Dad would send me and Emily or somebody down to Preston's and Walnut in Louisville, and we had to buy caramel coloring so Dad could give it to Eddie to put it in out of the whiskey,
Color the whiskey.
and color the whiskey brown, you know. And we had a nickel or a dime, and here's the cops at Preston Street at the drugstore standing around talking. And we hollered to the guy at the drugstore, give us 10 cents worth of caramel coloring. Mom's going to make some apples for us. And that's how we got the caramel coloring into the whiskey. And then we had to walk through the hospital where the cops were bringing people in there for all the reasons. And Emily and I were carrying a jug of whiskey, delivering it to the customers. And I think it was $10 or $20 a jug. I forget how much it was. But Mom was the worst cooker you ever saw in the world.
There was a patrolman on a corner of Floyd and Liberty. I forget his name. He was a friend of my father's. And my dad used to say, Eddie, take Mr. So-and-so home. He'd take me home in a police car, and I'd go into the house and get a quart of booze and bring it out and give it to him. And then he would take me back to the Haymarkers.
And the times were so bad, you won't believe this. We went down to 4th Street in Louisville, and we sold shopping bags for a nickel apiece.
Buying for 2 cents.
And then Eddie was there, and I was there, and we'd have stakeouts. The police, the 5 and 10 cent store manager raised hell because we were selling shopping bags, so they wanted the police to run us away. So we set up a relay system. When the cops came, we'd run down and say, Eddie, get out of here with the shopping bags, you know, so we wouldn't get locked up.
Tell me about this picture here. Do you remember when this was taken, what that was all about? Uncle Nick, do you?
That's Aunt Zeta and your brother, your Uncle Alec, me and Mom, Cy, and Richard.
Do you remember the occasion?
No.
Nick?
It's the Esso store, the Esso gas station on the corner here.
How about this one? Who are all these kids?
This is Nicky.
That good-looking
This is
guy, is this
Lincoln.
Nicky?
Was that me?
That's you, and this is Lincoln.
I should have been in the movies.
And this is Alec, cousin Charlie, and this guy, I don't know who this guy was.
That's Jimmy George.
Who?
Jimmy George.
Jimmy.
Jimmy and Vi George. No, who was married to Vi George?
Johnny.
Johnny George. It's Johnny George.
Oh, that was Johnny?
He's still living
Yeah.
today.
Is
No.
he really?
Johnny?
Johnny died.
The late Johnny George.
Not Johnny. Oh, Johnny,
That's
Charlie's
Johnny George.
cousin.
And this is Charlie
brother.
George, and this is Brenda Jean. That's Alex, that's me.
Oh, this is his brother.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. No, cousin George died last year.
Oh, Johnny George is still living.
Johnny George is still, he's 91.
Tell me about,
My mother had 14 children.
I know, that's what I was just going to ask
That's
you.
what we know about. We don't. She cheated a lot.
She lost 4.
I know. Tell me about the babies, Uncle Lincoln, Uncle Richie, and you guys putting them through school. What was that all about? Who made that decision?
What?
Della. Della was a sergeant for the whole family.
Who decided to put your younger brothers, Uncle Richie and Uncle Lincoln, through school? How did that?
Della and Mars and Lincoln helped with the education for
Della
Richard.
was our second mother.
Yeah, Della. She was a sergeant. She called the shots.
She was our second mother.
No one ever gave Della pushback or flack or anything?
No.
No. In fact, when your Uncle Lincoln used to come to Louisville, he would always go to Della's house. She'd have breakfast. She'd fix it. And if there was Alec, Cy, Nicky, whoever was there, we went there. And she would fix breakfast for them.
And she was 100% Catholic. You could not say one word against the Pope. I guarantee you, I got called down on that. I ought to know, you know.
But we were so poor.
How poor were
When
you?
Daddy, when Pop made whiskey,
Right.
we needed quart bottles, pint bottles, and half pint bottles to fill them and sell them. I used to go to the junkyard, and I used to look for quart bottles, pint bottles, half pint, take them home and scrub them all out, and we'd use them when we sold that whiskey.
But the classic of the whole Meena family is, and nobody will ever believe me, we lived on Walnut Street in Louisville, and we had $1 silver, and there was 12 of us in the family, and my sister Della had that silver dollar. And she said, Nicky, go down to the store and get us some potatoes and bread and bologna. And bologna was a nickel a pound, the bread was a nickel a loaf, and the onions were a penny a pound. I spent the whole silver dollar down there, and I took it back up on Walnut Street, and we had a meal off of that $1 silver, 12 of us. And nobody will ever believe it. And I think it wasn't long after that, Eddie walked out of the house one day, and he found a $10 bill on the ground, and he went back inside, and he said, I found a $10 bill. And you won't believe this. And he found out he put his shorts on wrong. And he said, that brought me luck. So ever since that time, his shorts right now are on wrong.
Okay, wait a minute. We have David here, so let's clear some up. David, where do you go? Elliot's telling a story that you were telling Elliot.
A big story was how we all ended up in America, how Abraham won that bet in Lebanon, and how he shipped some of his brothers back over here. That was a pretty common story. So I think my Uncle David knows it best. The story goes is Abraham won a bet in Lebanon. I think he bet his horse and carriage, and he won the same horse and carriage from another gentleman in his town, and he won enough money to ship him and a few brothers over to America, and that's kind of how the whole generation of the Meena's wave came over to America, which I think is funny considering it was over a card game.
Evidently there was a card game up in Hamet, and it was evidently a pretty big game, and there was a pot where a great Jiddu Meena actually bet his donkey and his cart or whatever he had, and there's a crowd standing around, and he needed one. It's like a 5-card stud kind of game. And I said Klebetti, or Ace of Clubs. My dad corrected me before he died. He said it was another, like heart or something like that. But the crowd was chanting for the card that was needed, and when they flipped the card over, that's what it was. And so he won that pot, and with that money, they bought his Elias, your grandfather, and Jiddu Abraham, and came over here to the United States. That's how they got the money to come here to the States. And their brother was with them, and he ended up there. They came in through Havana, and then I think they went up to Cleveland.
He had a brother
first.
in Cuba.
In Cuba.
That
Yeah.
died in the end.
And then they went up
In a
to.
war down
did they go to Cleveland
No,
first?
he was mugged.
He was
mugged.
stabbed the day before.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody.
Somebody owed him money, and
Oh,
they
that's
got into
unusual.
an argument over it, and he didn't make it.
When when we was making whiskey, we lived on Hancock and Jefferson Street, and we lived on the second floor, and we had an attic up on the third floor.
Yeah.
And
Now,
my
wait a minute. My mom and I were leaving the grocery store, and we were walking up.
Now you wait,
No, wait,
that's coming later. No, that's coming later.
All right.
He had 50-gallon barrels up in the attic, and it had all it was fermenting, the stuff to put in the still. New Year's Day, come knocking on the door, and here come the police.
No. Wait a minute, Eddie, before you get there.
Keep him in mind.
Mom and I were walking, we had groceries in our hands. And Eddie was up there with that still, and he opened the still up, the windows up, and I was walking up the street with Mom, and I said, Mom, I smell Ada. Ada is the Lebanese for whiskey. And she said, no. I said, Mom, I smell Ada. And by God, we got up to the corner of the store, of the house, and there was a law spilling out of the
Third floor window.
And I said, Mom, I told you I smelled Ada, and they took Dad down to the police station.
That's right.
And we
They
never
raided
voted. We never voted for Roosevelt
He was
after
making
that.
it for the church.
How did you guys get him out of jail if you didn't have any money? Did
said he was making
they
it
just
for
let
the
him
church.
I
out?
don't know. I don't remember how he got out.
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, give me something.
Yeah,
No, they said he was
Alaska,
making it
jump
for the
to
church,
Alaska.
which was.
So tell me how did the whole Alaska thing get started? Who went up there first?
Your Uncle Nicky and Mary, she was working for an executive in an oil company up there. I forget which oil company.
And you chime in when he gets it wrong.
No.
Okay.
I worked for Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory, and they sent me to Amchitka. We were testing bombs underground, and they tested a bomb at Amchitka and went down 6,000 feet, and they blew a bomb up to get the data. And then they turned around, and I came back to Anchorage to go back to Los Alamos, New Mexico, and then they started to test bombs in the Pacific Ocean, and I was sent to Honolulu, opened up the office for the laboratory to bring all the personnel and get them under every direction they were going. And the thing was that I had to give them a car, a hotel, and get them on a plane. We were going to Johnston Island, where they shooting the bombs from, and we had an office down at Christmas Island, and they get the data down there when the bomb
We ain't
exploded.
worried about that. He wants to know how we got up there.
How did you
How
get
did
him
y'all
to
get
come to
up there?
Alaska? Was that a hard sell?
Let me finish.
Okay.
You don't have to tell us what they did.
Because he's running out of tape, but go ahead.
Well, the thing was, when I got to Anchorage, I went to they were telling me that I could get a job up there I was working for the Los Alamos Laboratory, and I wanted to leave Los Alamos. So I left Los Alamos, and the culinary union up there told me that they'd give me a job busting dishes. So I went to Alaska and got a job busting dishes. And when I worked my way into it, then I sent for Eddie after I was situated.
And here's the question everybody wants to know. How did you two handle each other, the odd couple being roommates? How the heck did that work?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I used to wash his clothes. He got a group and they had poker games certain nights. Well, I don't know how often or when. And he would sit there and cut the poker game and make his extra money there. But the thing was, he kept calling me and telling me, come on up here, I get you a job, blah, blah, blah. So I went to the mill to my superintendent and I told him I want a 30-day leave, I'm going to Alaska. He said, I can't do that. I said, well, I'm going. He said, if you go, I'm going to have to reprimand you or discipline you in one way or another. I said, okay. Anyway, long story short, I went up there, and he got me a job. I went to work on an oil platform
Monopod.
called the Monopod. It was
owned by
there
Union
was
Oil.
only two in the world that only had one leg. They had one leg in the middle. Anyway, we worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and I forget how much we made, but I worked 4 weeks. I come back, my boss said, you have to take a week off. I'm penalizing you. You're losing a week's work. I got teed all okay. So it was latter part of September. September the 30th, I went out to the office, the steel mill's office. I says, I want my pension. They gave me my pension. It was $266 a month. And there was a lump sum check, which I took home to give to Lorraine to take care of. And then I borrowed $500 from Household Finance, got a ticket, went back to Alaska. It didn't pan out. I was living with him and Mary, so I come back home. But anyway, eventually back in '73, I went back up, and then I got a job in the culinary union, and from there, that's when I think he was with the Teamsters.
Yes.
Brought Eddie up. He got him with the Teamsters. Brought Nikki up. Got her with the Teamsters. Brought you up. Got you in culinary.
But-
Brought Scooter up. Got him in culinary. He brought Leslie and Gil up. And Matt, was it?
Tommy.
Tommy. Brought all them up and got them in.
But
And that's how we
I got
did
it.
it.
I got it.
Uncle Si.
I got to tell you.
Oh!
What?
He brought Uncle Si. He sent Uncle Si money.
I
Bought
sent
him a
him
ticket.
$5,000. He stayed 2 days and came back to Kentucky.
He got scared. He didn't want to stay.
And I didn't go down and walk him through the mill. But here's the best thing of the whole story. Eddie and I were working on the monopod platform. They were drilling oil. And when we went to R&R, we worked a week or 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it was, we had to get on a net on the platform at 100, 200
They had
feet
a
high,
basket.
and they had a crane, and they had a basket, rope, you know. So you had to get around the basket, hang on.
No.
Well, wait a minute. So everyone understands this is out in the middle of the water, and neither of you know how to swim, right?
Right.
Okay.
The
now
only
go.
way you could get off of that platform was either by boat or a helicopter.
Yeah,
Right.
So the weather was bad, so the boat was coming in with supplies.
tugboat.
And we were going off on shore. The basket was a cone-shaped deal, empty inside, and you hold on the outside. But when you got off, you weren't allowed to stand on the outside. You had to go inside the basket. He wouldn't go inside the basket. He was afraid. So he was standing on the outside, and the craneman on the platform knew this, So when he picked his basket up and took him out, instead of going to the barge, he started to scare him. Started to put him down in the ocean.
Do you remember that?
Remember
Is that how you recall that story?
Now, why don't you tell the rest of it?
What was the rest? What was the rest?
Eddie did the biggest sin in the world. He lied. I was outside of the basket, and Eddie was inside the basket, and we were halfway down the water, and I said to Eddie, my eyes were closed because I was scared of height, you know? And my eyes were closed, and I said, Eddie, are we over the tug? Are we in the tug? He said, yeah. I opened my eyes. Here I was halfway down. I shook in my pants. That was a God's truth.
Okay, we're gonna switch. Do you need a break, or do you want your tripod?
Yeah.
Give me, each of you, give me your best Uncle Lincoln betting story that you can remember. One of your fondest memories of whatever it might be, win, lose.
I came home for an R&R, and Lorraine and I had a Cadillac. This was a 1977 Baritz Eldorado, and we drove to Louisville. And when we got to Louisville, I found out that Lincoln had a whole plane load of people from his company, and my brother Richard had flown to Vegas, and they were all in Vegas. So I don't know how Lincoln got word. He said, well, fly down, you and Lorraine, come on, fly down. So we flew down to Vegas. I think we stayed at the Aladdin. And this one day, Lincoln went, he was down shooting craps. All he played was craps. And we were down, he says, I'm going to go to the table and play craps. And there was his wife, Yvonne, and 2 or 3 other wives of the guys that came up with him. He says, go over to the bar and buy them a drink of whiskey. I says, all right. So I went over and I spent maybe a half hour or whatever. And then I went looking for Lincoln. So I walked down to where the crap tables were, and there was 2 or 3 of them in a row, and he was on the first one. So I just stood back and I just watched. And he's betting these white chips, and I didn't know the amount of the white chips. He's betting 2 of them on the line of them. Eventually, the guy shooting the dice, he had them for 15, 20 minutes. Finally, he petered out. He threw to 7. Lincoln starts gathering all his white chips. The black chips were $100. He took one, threw it to the shooter because he made him all that money. And he took another one, threw it to the dealers. They put it in their box. And he motioned to me, and we went to the cashier. And he's putting all these chips there, and the lady's pile wound up. He had 22,000 and I forget some $100.
Oh, wow.
Good. How about your Uncle Lincoln story? Derby story, maybe a Derby bet, maybe.
No, the best story I remember was when we were on the North Slope. And in order for me to get my nieces and nephew out, it cost me tons of money through the business agent of the Teamsters Union. So he'd give me a watch to sell. We'd raffle it off on a football World Series or whatever. $100 a chance, $5,000 to $10,000 worth. So I did this and did that and kept doing it. And one day he said, I wanted to get rid of this. $100 a chance. Now this is a true story. So we were giving away this $10,000 watch or whatever it was, and I was going to the pipe fitters, 798 pipe fitters. They're the toughest people in the world. They're tough, and you can't cheat with them. So I sold most of the tickets to the pipe fitters. Now you won't believe this. I swear to God, this is truth. There were 2 names, two names that everybody bought a ticket, put their name on a ticket. we were down to 2 tickets in the hat, in the bag, and I had the pipe fitters business agent there, so to be on the up and up. Well, lo and behold, Mark Meena and Norman Nolte were the last 2 names in the hat.
You remember this, Mark? Okay.
And then Norman Nolte was 80 years old. He was a prisoner of war in Guam under the Japanese. And then the Teamsters sent him out so he can get some retirement fund going for him. 80 years old. And Eddie and Norman Nolte was in there. And I said to the Teamster, to the 798 business agent, I said, there's 2 names in here. It's worth $10,000. One of them's worth $10,000. And I said, you have to draw because my name is Meena. I'm all over the slope. I'm selling these tickets. If my brother wins it, they'll say it's rigged. This is God's truth.
Well, yeah, he is.
And so help me God, I said, get Norman Nolte to pull out the tickets. He did, and it was Eddie Meena that won the ring or watch or whatever.
Eddie or Mark Meena?
Mark
Meena.
Meena. And then I said to the pipe fitter agent, I said, this can't happen. I said, they'll say it's crooked. My brother won this, and I was cheated, and we got a dozen Meenas on the North Slope. They'll hang them all by morning. So I said to him, let's give it to Norman Nolte. He's 80 years old. And we gave it to Norman Nolte, and I never told Eddie about it until way later on, but that was an absolute true story. $10,000 went down the drain, and I didn't get nothing out of it.
Well, you did.
Hey, so we have all your nieces, your nephews, your grandkids. Someone ask them question, anything, nothing? Anyone have something while we got these young patriarchs here? Anything? Okay, yeah. Who got it? Scooter. Oh yeah, bring this young man in.
Can we get another seat?
Yeah, bring him in here. We got a whole nother thing to go.
Come on. This is the previous generation's males.
Sit right here, Uncle Dick. This is Mom's brother, Dick Monsour, from California. There you go.
I went up to Dick, even though you know Eddie's reputation. I think he might have a gambling.
I don't know, man.
You know, one of the amazing things about working up there, you ran across the most diversified group of people in the world.
Would this be one of them right behind you and is coming in for his entrance?
No.
Hey, look at that.
How you doing?
You could just roll on this.
Anyway, I had a roommate that was an ex-convict. And he was telling me he was trying to go straight. But then there were women up there working where their husband's home watching the kids.
I have a question for Uncle Dick. When you first were introduced, to the Meena family because your sister Lorraine is marrying the Meena, can you remember like when that was, where that was? Here, this will jog your memory. Can you talk about the Monsours? Now they're getting together with the Meenas a little bit, and I know you guys were sort of all in the army, or no? I don't know how that all came to be.
Well, neither do I. In fact, I can't remember what happened yesterday, and you're asking me. Jeez.
Welcome to the crowd.
Well, I remember meeting the Meenas and Eddie and Lorraine taking me into their store. Didn't you have a store?
Scappy.
No.
You didn't.
Lorraine was at Scappy.
No, Sears for a long time, but that's what you're talking
Your
about.
mother was. I thought she was in the store and she was playing the numbers.
Oh, now we're getting warm.
Somebody, Les George, had a store downstairs.
Oh.
And we lived up on the second floor.
Okay.
And it was on the corner.
She must have been down there playing the numbers. Anyhow, I thought, what a nice, warm lady she was. She was very friendly, lovely woman. Eddie's mother, your grandmother.
Right.
Yeah.
This young lady.
That's right.
We got pictures of everybody.
That's right. Yeah, that's her.
Tell me, go ahead.
Well, I met Eddie and I thought, gee, what a nice guy. That's about it. I mean, I didn't know anything else about him, so.
It wouldn't have done you much good anyway.
Okay, on the Monsour side, the guy right behind you, it brings up memories for me, Falcons Park in New Kensington, right here. Remember these picnics?
Oh, yeah.
Just tell me about some of your Falcon Park memories.
Oh, that
In New
picnic.
Kensington, Labor Day picnic in New Kensington. This young man behind you, you remember this young man? Right there?
You see Raymond?
I don't think you've seen him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I know about George, whenever he came out to California, and the Steelers were playing the Rams, and he came out with his cousin from Philadelphia, Louis
George.
and we had a ball as we went to the hotel where the Steelers were staying, and yeah, I was in my store and it had been a busy day, but George and Louis came down and they kidnapped me and took me to the hotel, and we had a real good time there. And anyhow, it was midnight. We were at the bar, and here came Lynn Swan down to buy drinks, and we wondered, what the hell is he doing down here? You know, he was the end.
Yeah, he was the receiver.
Anyhow, we had a good time. But what I wanted to tell you is a story with Lorraine. I was on the track team at Bridgeville High School. So I represented Bridgeville High School at the track WPIAL track meet, 50-yard dash. Lorraine was a cheerleader. She was the head cheerleader and the loudest cheerleader we ever had.
You know that.
But we were down 50-yard dash. We get set. They shoots the gun. I'm first out of the blocks. There were 10 guys in it. And Lorraine, come on, Dick, I can hear her. And 9 guys passed me up. And she was still cheering. Come on. I'll never forget that.
Where did you end up? At the end?
No, actually, I was next to the last.
Go ahead.
Nikki Lorraine on the North Slope, and Kathy, God bless her. Nikki Lorraine had people want to marry her, and I'm talking about millionaires from Texas. They owned ranches, and she wouldn't go to them. And Kathy, there was a guy in California, his father was a United States Senator. He wanted to marry Kathy, and Kathy wouldn't go that route. And then, I shouldn't be here right now, but this happened. I was an expediter on the North Slope, and I had to go to the airport every day to check our stuff for the company I worked for. And there was a commissary up there that cashed cashier checks. They cashed checks for the workers and charged them, you know. And they had $200,000 or $300,000 worth of cash every payday. So I walked in the commissary. Childs was the name of the commissary, the store. And I said, I need to cash a check. They said, we don't have any cash. I said, what happened? She said, we're missing $250,000 in cash. We can't find it. So I said, oh, okay. So I went to the airport, and then I did my business. And I was at the airport every day, from one end to the other, picking up people, picking up baggages and everything. When the airplane landed at the airport at North Slope, they put the baggage in the carts, and then they took and they put them on a roller. You know, you put the baggages on a roller, and it goes up to the back of the storage up there, and then you can pick up your luggage, you know. And I was there every day. And a couple of months later, I walked into the child's liquor commissary, and I said, she says, we found our $250,000 we were missing. I said, where was it at? She said, when they put the money in a pouch, and it went on this rollers, and it fell off to the side of the building, which was that big, and I was there every day, $250,000 laying there, and I missed it. That's a true story.
Good stuff. So, Elliot, here's a question. Of all the cousins,
Yes.
the younger generation, you're the young blood, you seem to be really, family's really important to you. So what's a weekend like this mean to you?
It means a lot to me just to be able to get us all back together, share some stories. That's probably my favorite part about this is hearing all the stories. And hopefully the younger generation can be as fun and tell the same kind of stories to our grandchildren when we have this in 40 years from now.
You went out with some of your cousins last night. Talk about some of the good times. What'd you guys do?
Well, the second we walked into the bar, I think a wave of just sleepiness all hit us. And then just a lot of college football.
Wait, Nikki, we have a full family tree here,
Yeah.
of which you are the star. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Well, my sister Della was in charge of the whole family. She was a sergeant in the Army, and we had to do what she said. And my sister Almaris backed her up. And my mom and my dad was very strict.
Yeah.
And my mom was, when he was wrong, she called him down. You know, he had to
How
back
did she do
up.
it?
She cut his food off. Because my dad was a pretty heavy guy, you know.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember
And
him.
he drank his own whiskey that he made.
I remember that. I
He
heard
used to have it still there, you know. And then that damn Roosevelt came in, and my dad was out of business. He legalized
Yeah.
alcohol. And it
It
was
was a good business for him, too.
oh, yeah, no taxes.
That's the best.
Yeah.
The,
And
now, here's something. Here it is.
and
How about, now look at you. Now, this is something new for you. Here you are with a cigar in your mouth, which is rare because I've never seen you with a cigar in your mouth, except for maybe every 12 seconds.
well,
Oh.
this cigar in my
Here.
mouth was due. You want to
Here we
know
go.
why
You-
I had a cigar in my mouth?
Why?
I hit the numbers.
You hit the numbers. You hardly ever played the
I
numbers.
got like $600, and I bought a cigar. And my God, my brother Eddie, my brother Cy, Tommy Sams. Tommy Sams was an outlaw until he joined the Meena clan. And I think he rode with Frank and Jesse James. It's crazy. And then my brother Alec, he was numbers players.
I remember that.
Yeah, and he got some beautiful children.
Thank you, Nikki. And we all have beautiful. Everybody's family is stunning. Let's look at
You
the.
know, there's one thing about this
What?
place. There's no Irish in here, but we have one Italian,
Yes. Yeah.
Tony Vituro.
You're right, but then there's Cy's wife Dolores was very Irish, but she wasn't. I shot this picture, and I know we were all on one side of the room, and she wasn't there that day. My mother was. My mother was, I think, in another room.
Yeah.
Let's look at the family tree for a second. Here are the 10 children: Della, Elmaris, Alex, Elizabeth, Eddie, Emily, you, 1922, which makes you.
Right now,
Right.
I feel like I'll be eligible for Social Security next year.
There you go.
But I want to tell you about this one here.
Elizabeth. Oh, Aunt Elizabeth.
Yeah, she was.
She was 1915 and she died in 1950. I remember that here in Clareton.
She had a face of a movie star. She was absolutely beautiful. And she fell in love with a guy named Jimmy. He lived in Philadelphia, and he was a soldier. And she married him, and she moved to Philadelphia, and she died there. And I wouldn't go to the funeral because I didn't want to go. You know, I want her memory to stay with me. And Cy went, and my brother and my brother-in-law Tony Vituro went, Carlos went, but I never went to her. But she was absolutely a beautiful, gorgeous woman.
I remember, Elizabeth, I stayed with her and Jimmy in Philadelphia once. And when you said that, Uncle Nicky, I'm thinking the reason that that's probably why you didn't go to a lot of funerals over the years. You'd rather keep the memory of everybody. I know you didn't go to my dad's funeral, Al Morris's funeral.
My father passed away, and they put him in a dining room next to the kitchen. And we lived on Halcombe Avenue in Clareton, on the second floor above. And the problem was, every time we had to go to the kitchen to eat, my dad was in a coffin in the dining room. And I kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I got so distraught of it, and I said, to hell with it. I said, my dad's gone, but he's with me every day. And ever since that time, anybody passed away in my family, to me, they're not gone. They're still here. I think about them every day. I pray every day and night for them.
That is really so beautiful to hear, because I remember all these years, anytime there was a funeral, you always chose to stay outside the church. And so I'm glad you explained that.
I was with my sister Al Morris when she passed away, and I was with my brother Richard down there when he was passed away. And I got so doggone tired of being with people that passed away, because I wanted to remember them as I remembered them. And so I said, to hell with it, I ain't going to go to no more funerals. And they never left me. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh.
They're with me every day, every night, and they're beautiful memories. And I was fortunate. Of course, we had to end up with Warren Fine.
Warren.
Monsour side of the family. I'm Raymond Skirfield. My mother was Helen Monsour. And let's just go around and introduce everybody.
Hi, I'm Ruth Saraf. I'm from New Kensington. I'm Lorraine's cousin. It's so wonderful seeing her.
Hi, I'm Norma Elias. I'm from New Kensington, and Lorraine's mom and my mom were sisters, so that makes us first cousins.
Yeah, what about my mom?
And Raymond's mom also is my first cousin. It's also my first cousin. Okay.
I'm Lorraine Meena.
I'll get back to you. I want equal time. I want to put some lipstick on. You let Norma do it. Anyhow, I'm Audrey, Lorraine and Helen's cousin. My father was George Monsour. And these are my buddies, buzzing Norma, and I love her. I love Lorraine. And my buddy here, my trouble buddy. Yeah. And boy, we've had some good times together, haven't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, too bad Helen isn't here. I loved her with all my heart. And she and I were very close. I kept in touch with her a long time with Helen. And we even went out to visit her when I went to California with my daughter. She said, let's go visit Helen. Just like that, and we did, and I'm glad we did.
We talked about you and Bill a lot.
Oh, yeah, we loved her. We did. We loved her.
I'm Ann Thomas. I've known Lorraine for 56 years, and she is like more than a sister to me. We've been best friends ever since. We've been through a lot of ups and downs together, but mostly ups. And I love her like I'd have a sister.
Well, we'd like you to share something about the old days. Yeah, anything you want to talk about the girls getting together, or anything you want to say about anybody?
Well, we always had the Husson picnic in New Kensington for many, many years. My husband used to run it a lot. And after the picnic, we always came to my home, maybe a couple hundred people, and we always had a party after the picnic, but everybody looked forward to everybody coming from all over the United States. And another picnic we were involved with was the Bridgeville picnic on the 4th of July. And we used to come out here, and we all slept over at Lorraine's mom and dad's house, and we slept there, and there were people sleeping all over, every chair, all over the floors, everything. We had the best of times, and they were all two-day picnics, but we had the best of times. And we do miss Helen and Tiff and who else? Everybody. Alex and Andy, and who? And my sister Julie, and my sister Dorothy, and my brother Skins, and we were all and all the Zabeks with us. We were all very close, and they always used to go on picnics together to Highland Park in Pittsburgh. They used to all make lunch baskets and go to Pittsburgh to the zoo. But anyway, we did. We were always very close with them. We're so glad we're here to celebrate all these different events of Eddie and Lorraine. I know Eddie turned 90 years old, a young 90, I might say. And Lorraine and Eddie had 62 years of marriage, happy life. And now we have this very nice family reunion that we're attending. So we are really having a great time here. Thank you for inviting us all. Thank you.
I'm just so happy to be here, seeing all my relatives and all. It's wonderful. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that it's wonderful to be here with this group of women. I know several of you were very close to my mother, Helen, and you're all just very special people.
Yep, okay, this is the Erie Connection. I don't recognize a lot of people here, but I'm so happy to see the ones that I do recognize and I haven't seen for years, especially somebody like Raymond. Oh my God, and he's still as handsome as ever. Raymond, and who else was it? Somebody else that came. Huh? Somebody else here that I was so shocked to see, and I can't remember who it was. Oh, what the hell, when you get to be 85, you're lucky you remember your own name, you know? But anyhow, nice to see you, honey. Ray and Nick was here. Somebody here that I was so surprised to see.
Richard? Maybe Richard?
Yeah, Richard, for Christ's sakes. How could I forget Richard? I love him so much, and he looks great, too.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see him and Raymond. Oh, God, what a thrill.
You have two of your kids are here?
My kids are here, the three of us. Let's see, my Debbie and my Billy. I have a daughter and a son. I have another daughter in Scottsdale. She's not here. But, and my son-in-law, the three of us drove up. That's what I said. Here, say hello. My Debbie, my everything. I adore her. So good to me. I've been very, very fortunate. I've been God blessed me with a marvelous husband, passed away a couple of years ago, and 3 marvelous kids. I must have done something right in my life, let me tell you, to deserve them. But anyhow, I'm so glad to be here. I wouldn't have missed this for anything in the world. I wasn't feeling good, and I wasn't sure I was going to come, but I am so glad I did come.
Like I said, I've known Lorraine for 56 years. I was quiet and shy, backwards, but not long after meeting her. No, not anymore. I can be with her. But we did a lot of shopping. On Saturdays, we'd go to Jason's and McKeesport, and she was the clothes horse. I liked to gamble. She liked to put money on clothes. And she used to say, I don't know how you lose that money. I'd rather put it on my back. But today, she's worse than I am. She likes to gamble today. She gives me a run for my money. Okay.
You didn't mention that your children, you have 3 of your sons here, and your husband, you might...
Yes, I do. My husband and 3 sons are here. The 2 daughters couldn't make it. I'm sorry that they didn't make it. But they're enjoying themselves. And also my grandson just came in. Georgie's son, Jeff, just came in. And so I'm glad they're here. And they're having a great time. Thank you.
Well, and of course, Aunt Lorraine's, all of 4 of Aunt Lorraine's children are here. Eddie and Paul and Scoot and Nikki. So maybe we'll talk to them. If they haven't talked yet, we'll talk to them in a little bit and get them on here as well.
Remember Helen talking about her son Raymond? She idolized him, absolutely idolized him, I'm telling you. And how well we know that, huh? You couldn't be with Helen without Helen talking about Raymond, that's for sure. You'll never have any idea. And we miss her. I wish she was here with us. I really liked her. She told it like it was, though. Talk about being outspoken, whether you liked it or whether you didn't. You heard it. Boy, Little Caesar, we called her. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Yeah. But she was so beautiful. And she'd give you anything in the world. She was so kind and good-hearted. And I didn't see her very often. I talked to her on the phone. And Tom called me quite a few times. I was surprised after Helen died, you know. I really was surprised. But we did talk quite often, Tom and I. I think he was lonesome. Of course he was lonesome. But anyhow, okay, you're next, kid. I think we've said about it all.
After Jiddu passed away, or wait, Sittu was sick first. Sittu was first. Sittu came to our house and stayed with us, and she actually shared my bed with me. and being a spoiled little kid, I didn't like it at the time. But but I remember Situ coming in the bed, and Situ had hair all the way past her bum. And she would, every night, she would take that little bun out, and she would just comb that hair all the way down. All the way down. And I would watch her do it. Do you ever see her do that?
I remember that with my Situ Latifa, my Situ Meena.
Yeah,
the same thing.
they would brush that hair and then pull it straight tight back, you know, in a big and for me as a kid, I don't know why that memory just always stuck out for me.
Jack?
And, yeah.
Well, I remember the same thing, and I remember Jiddu eating green apples in Peters Township and playing tetherball. Jiddu played tetherball behind our house, Peters Township. And then I remember, of course, I remember Situ when she was sick, and I remember her being, as a little boy, I remember her being carried to the car by Uncle Dick when they took her to the hospital. And I remember Jiddu riding to the Syrian picnic with my friend Tom Burns and I in an MG midget.
The Jiddu mobile.
Jiddu, he was in the front seat holding on to his straw hat, and I was behind the seats, and he carried on a conversation with my friend Tom the whole way from it would be Bridgeville to New Kensington.
Oh, that's great. Talk about
Raymond.
the Jiddu mobile. You mentioned it.
Well, actually, you know, my mother had a lot of different people that lived with us over the years. I mean, a lot of different people. And Jiddu lived with us for a while. And Elizabeth, and he and I had little bedrooms on the second floor next to the beauty shop. And I can remember every day, this is dinky little Elizabeth, every day he'd get up in the morning and he'd get dressed, have a tie on, jacket, white shirt, a hat, and I think my mother used to ask him, why are you getting dressed, you know, what are you going to do? He said, well, you know, this is what I do. Yeah, you know, every day he would do that.
Do you remember his second wife? She was a German lady from Canonsburg.
Yes.
She lasted about a year, and then that was it.
They bought her off.
I don't even know if it was that long.
They bought her
She
off.
couldn't take it. No, she couldn't take it. Poor thing.
Billy.
I don't know. I heard. Scooter said. I was going to say what I heard earlier today.
You need to say, maybe, I guess we should have said who we are.
No, all of them. I'll give you my social security number if you'll buy my products.
Scooter said you shared a memory with him that he forgot about, but share it with us.
Quite frankly, more than one. I think the one that he's probably thinking of is the time that my mother and I pulled into the driveway up in Erie, Pennsylvania, at the same house that we grew up in, and there was a person laying on our front porch with his head propped up underneath the sleeping bag. You know, his head was the sleeping bag propped up, and I mean a person laying on a porch in a residential neighborhood, and it was a way different upbringing of life that we were accustomed to than everybody else, but still all equal. And we had no idea who this person was going to be, and he was just out for a walk. And how far he went? How far? Thousands of miles.
It was Scoot.
It was Scoot. Sure, yeah, it was Scoot. We didn't know. We pulled in the driveway. There's a body on the porch. You know.
He just knew what their address, so they weren't home. So
he was welcome the whole time, and he still is. It was great. What I was going to say earlier was about, and I don't know, everyone should probably look for this on the CD or the video if you get it, was that the interview between Scoot and my Uncle Eddie, your dad, the two of them over there. I hope it doesn't get edited.
Hey, Jid, I'm yelling at Paul again. What do you think about that?
I don't like it.
I know you don't like
You
it,
ain't
but
supposed to. You talk too much and you talk too loud.
I know that too.
And you think nobody knows nothing but you.
I know that too. You're right. I agree with you, 100%.
But you don't listen. You don't listen.
Well, Pap, you know, I've been around a while. If it's not changed by now, what makes you think it's going to change in the future?
It's got to change something. Everything
Why?
changes.
Why? Is there discontent? Are you discontented?
Yeah.
Are you? Okay,
Yeah.
well, I can't do anything about that. That's one I lose then, you know? I lose that one.
7-6.
7-6. What do you think of the ball game here? What do you think of the game of bocce in general?
First time I ever saw it played.
First time you grew up in Clareton and all them Italians had bocce courts. You never saw it played.
I was too busy trying to win or work or something.
Oh, back when he
But
was young.
they're doing that, everybody. You ought to look for that. That one.
How about you two growing up? You used to push her around a little bit.
Well, that's what I thought, and she
Well,
said she was so
you know,
tough on me, and she says that I was tough on her. I
Yeah,
don't get
I think it was our mothers that were tough on both of us. They were. They used to bid us against each other. You know, she was the queen because we were always at her house. Okay. So we let her think she
Well,
was.
no. I was at your house a lot too. Your mother just reminded me of something. She said, "Do you remember?" She said, "Do you remember when you were swimming over at our house and the boys stole your bathing suit?" I'm like, "No, do you remember that?" I don't either. Your mom remembered it, but anyway, I didn't remember that part of it. But we could talk about these mothers who were. It was brutal. And your dad was like a pushover compared to the Monsour women.
I remember going the bowling with the little bowling pins.
Duck pins.
Duck pins with your father and Uncle Dick. I just somewhere on the second floor.
Oh yeah, that was in Bridgeville.
Yeah, I just remember I was little. They took me because Uncle Dick was my godfather. And they took me and we went.
Aunt Helen was the queen of the duck pins. Aunt Helen was the queen of
bowling. Bowling in general.
Bowling duck pins. She was great.
She used to spoil me quite a bit. I
Aunt
don't
Helen?
really know. Yeah,
She was
she
the
probably would have
best.
gotten in trouble if she'd have known how much. If you'd have known how much she spoiled me, she probably would have gotten in trouble.
Spoiled you how? Like
with love, mostly with love. Never, and there was. Man, I tell you, she was so. I used to love going to Elizabeth, and it was so much fun. My dad had a '63 Chevy Impala with me and my mother and him. We cruised down there. Uncle Tom was so poor. It was the greatest thing. And that was between ages 7 and 14. You know, those are my memories. You know, what a great time.
I remember all the years, every Sunday, we went to Sidunjadu's house. Do you
Yes.
remember that?
Yes, we did.
And all us girls, Aunt Tiffy's, all
Well, Aunt
six
Tiffy
of
lived
hers,
next door.
All 6 of her
In
girls,
Carnegie.
Tommy Jean and me, we all had to be dressed up in
Oh, yeah.
dresses. We had to wear dresses. But then when I'd go to Louisville, we'd have hats, gloves, dresses.
Yes.
And then I'd go to Louisville and all my cousins would make fun of me because I had to wear
You were
hats
dressed
and
up?
gloves. They'd all make fun of me. It was terrible.
I remember the
But
haircuts
Situ was so sweet.
at Aunt Helen's. Going over there, always Scooter and I always marched upstairs. Oh, yeah, that was, every time we go, it was a ritual. We'd get our haircuts.
Well, Tommy has carried that on.
She still does that.
She still gives haircuts to Siamak and Amir used to. He
Well,
stopped.
Amir, no. He doesn't do it anymore.
I can remember Aunt Tiffy coming up to Erie, and they used to love to go on the tugboat we have up at Erie. And Uncle Jim would sing Under the Boardwalk. I can remember that like it was yesterday. Everybody coming to Erie and stuff, and
I know.
Paul and Scooter and Eddie. We were the Erie connection.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, great people, good relatives. We love them. Yeah, it was fun. I can remember Tommy Jean's house like it was my own house. Yeah, and Elizabeth, everything about it. You know?
On the hill, we had to go up the hill to get there. And Uncle Tom, I remember him telling me, always use low gear. When you're in Pittsburgh, you use low gear. And I never forgot that. And I can tell you that when I was 15 years old, when I was in California, probably around 72, 71, 72, 73, he let me take it wasn't in a white Volkswagen that they had out there?
Red.
It was red, and he's like, your parents don't find out and they don't know. Don't tell them. If you want to take a car for a cruise, go ahead. And I was 15. I didn't have my license. You probably never did know that, did you? I swear to you. In L.A., the only time I've ever been there, and I miss it. And I love the city, right? Brother of Angels, or the city of Angels, you know. But he did. And I cruised out. It was my way to use a stick shift and pulled out on the Colorado Boulevard. And I cruised around. I didn't go far, but it was great. He was that guy. Was one in a million.
How about all the New Kensington picnics? Was that like the best weekend?
Shucking corn for Jiddu.
Yeah?
So we get some free corn, but he had the best sweet corn.
Remember him in the booth?
Always in the booth selling the tickets.
Yeah.
He would sell the tickets in the booth.
Yeah.
And he would never give us extra.
We'd go around and see our uncles just to get some money to ride those swings.
Oh, I know.
Love those swings.
Uncle George, that's the first time I attended bar. At 13 or 14, Uncle George put me behind the bar.
Cute.
Serving beer.
Look at him.
No, we got one thing. Come here.
We have a question.
Where did you sleep? We slept
No,
in
go over there
Antwerp.
behind. We got one question.
We slept in Antwerp.
Eddie,
Eddie
Jack
Porter.
remembers the first time he tended bar at the New Kensington picnic. He was only like 13 or 14. Give us your New Kensington Labor Day Falcons Park memories?
I remember all the crooked card games. And I remember all the gay women that used to hang out down there.
I don't remember any of that.
We were too young. We didn't even know what gay women
Oh
were.
yeah, they used to be. There was always about 4 or 5 of the butch. They had white short shirts and the sleeves were rolled up. And they had the hair back like this. They had like the worker trousers on. And then there were always 2 really pretty ones in the middle, the femmes. Pretty young gay women. Oh, I never forget them. That's the only reason I went there. To see there if they'd add a couple every year. Now, Jack, you know, he could 10 bar at 13. But I remember when Jiddu Monsour, he would be in the corn deal. You'd always go get the corn.
Getting the energy, right?
Yeah, and then when you went there, he gave you a strip of tickets. Yeah.
You just said that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, we had to pay for them, but we'd always hope that he's going to give us an extra strip. You know, we'd pay a little bit. And then
But the other thing was about the Monsours, when they were in Carnegie, we'd always go over there for the holiday. And the drugstore at the bottom of the hill where they lived was owned by a Jewish family, Bell. So they would always be open on Christmas. So we could sneak down there and get ice cream and a soda or something. But Jiddu always gave us $5.
Oh, he gave us money.
He gave us, every year he gave us all money.
I never got mine.
The older kids got more money. The older kids got more money than the younger.
I want to move right up to there.
No, we're just remembering.
Oh, before
New Kensington. Go ahead.
I remember the dancing at the picnic. That was incredible. The line dancing and the handkerchief and the ducky.
Uncle Skins.
Oh yeah.
Uncle Skins being the ducky.
Oh, Uncle Skins with the handkerchief.
Yeah.
Sammy, New Kensington Labor Day picnic memories. Falcon Park.
Gosh, I remember so many. I just remember the bridge coming across from the parking lot. And I remember standing there waiting and seeing all you people come all at once. You see everybody. We could wait for all of our cousins. It was wonderful.
The best part of the Syrian picnics was your grandfather. And he used to come, and he was so dedicated to that hospital.
The hospital.
Yeah, he was real dedicated. And I remember he used to stay like out at the park overnight. He'd sleep
Oh, yes.
in the pavilions overnight. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, he would
Because
stay
there
there.
was all kinds, the liquor was all there and
They
everything.
put all the food and everything out there, and he wanted to make sure that nobody stole anything.
Guarding
They'd
guarding
sleep there overnight.
He'd sleep, and there were no beds, no cots.
No, nothing.
I didn't realize
He was in the Jiddu Mobile.
Oh,
That
yeah.
little car.
He was really big into the hustle.
Yeah, he was. Kathy has a good Aunt Jean and a good Aunt Helen story.
First, I think the thing I remember the most is the Monsours. That was the good-looking section of the family. They were all, and
Oh, you mean me and the other people? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
you weren't even born yet.
Oh.
But I remember Sittu Mansour's, her posture was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
You have her posture. Aunt Lorraine definitely
Lorraine
has
did
it.
too.
Aunt Lorraine right now looks like Sittu Mansour.
Yeah.
She really does.
She does, but they do look.
Oh, a lot.
Some of them are-
And you know what Aunt Ruth told me? Aunt Ruth told me, like Norma's mother and her mother were sisters, but she was closer to my grandmother. So when she came to New Kensington, she always slept at my grandmother's house. Sittu Mansour was closer to my mom, my grandma.
I remember the chocolate back by the
Oh, yeah.
men's room
Oh,
way in
yes.
the back.
Oh, yeah.
Eddie, I remember Eddie was allowed to run the wheel once.
My brother Eddie or my dad?
Your brother. He thought he'd hit the heights. He was allowed to do the gambling. Yeah, he was running that.
Well, I can remember every year looking forward so much to those picnics and going to New Kensington. It was like the height of my my summer, but it was also at the end of the summer, wasn't it? And then we would always have to go to school the next day or something. But going to New Kensington, I don't think I ever felt more welcome or more loved by a family. Like we would go to Aunt Norma's house, Aunt Dorothy's house, her mom's house, and just everybody always treated us so well. And I can remember going back with Amir when he was a baby, and it was like
You stayed at my apartment.
I did, and everybody
Remember
was
that.
taking, like they would take turns with Amir, and they would keep him, oh no, he can stay with me, no, you can stay with me, it was amazing. I mean, all of you always made us feel so loved, and you were so gracious.
Well, you were loved.
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, you guys too, and I've never forgotten that feeling that I've always had from your families. That's great. It really was.
I
great.
was telling Nikki about this house. We must have been at, I don't remember, I think it was at your mom's house in Pasadena.
In Pasadena?
And we went up to visit, and your Aunt Jean was there. And I think Amir put a grape on her chair. And she sat on
Put a what?
a grape. And she sat on the grape, and it squashed her on her pants. And she said, I paid $200. She was having this.
She was hysterical.
And
She
he
was
was like
hysterical.
3 years old, and it was like, it was only a grape. That's it,
And my mother, Amir had done it, and she would defend him.
Oh, yeah, it was fine. It was only,
It's okay.
She was so pure of heart about all the kids.
Oh, yeah, the
Helen was
kids.
great about the kids.
I remember afterwards, I always felt so special because we were like the in crowd. We all went to Norman George's, and the craziest. All the grown-ups dancing and they were really, now you look back, they were really getting
They were
drunk.
partying.
Oh, we would
They had
sit on those
parties like you would
steps,
believe.
sit on those steps and just look down and watch them.
Do you remember
Uncle Juvie, Uncle Louie? Who
Oh,
were they
Uncle
all the guys?
But Uncle Wally from Philadelphia. And he'd
Eddie
get up
from
at the
Philadelphia.
microphone and he'd say, the party will continue at George and Norma's house. Everybody come. And they all did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They got all these people.
Oh, they drank.
yeah.
They did some
They did,
serious
and they would do
hardcore.
crazy stuff, and then they would tell us kids, go to bed, and we'd sneak back down and sneak, look down the steps. What are they doing now? What are they doing now?
That's what Billy and I know. We come by it honestly. Okay? My mother and Monsour's, it's in our blood, you know?
There you go.
We were taught well.
Good excuse.
Hey, we love all you guys. You're the greatest relatives, everybody. You couldn't ask for a nicer family if you tried, you know? Thank you. Thanks for inviting us down here.
She's an Aunt Helen's ring.
Very little. It was, she had on this real pretty ring. And I said, oh, Aunt Helen, that ring is so pretty. And she said, oh, one of my kids bought it for me. And I said, oh. I said, Tommy Jean? And she said, no. Oh, what's that other one's name? I said, Raymond? She said, yeah, Raymond. Raymond bought me that ring. That's such a, she was so cute. She was the best. I thought she looked like Angie Dickinson. Do you remember Angie Dickinson?
Sure.
Her laugh was infectious. She had the classic laugh.
So cute. Before your time, you're older than me. Aren't you older than me?
He knows.
Yeah, we don't like make me swear.
Yeah. Hilani, say something.
What do you remember about your sit-to?
I remember she would always go, oh, Yahweh, and say like, oh, my head. Yeah, and I remember she had a dog named Luby, and her other dog was Kibby, and she made the best kibbe and spinach pie. We'd always go over and she'd have it and with pine nuts on it. It was so good. She always told me I was the rose between two thorns, which my brothers were the two thorns. She said, you're a rose between two thorns, she'd say to me. So I remember that. Yeah, I'm named after her, so.
Here's one, I don't know if we've ever confessed this. We used to go down, Elizabeth was across the water from Clareton, and Aunt Helen would drive over by herself to visit Mom. And we would go and we'd play in the woods down in the dump over behind our house. And we would we hardly ever acted up, but this one summer we would throw rocks down and the cars that were coming, and you'd hit the car or you could hit the windshield. And one time we did it, and we hit a windshield, we freaked out, we ran up, and Aunt Helen was in our house, bitching, because it was her. We hit her windshield. We didn't know it was her. She certainly didn't know it was us, and we were like, oh, we shut our mouth. Oh, yeah, that was. And, you know, we realized we could have killed someone. We just didn't know. We cracked her windshield.
Oh, shit.
I did.
You
I
did?
No, I did over there.
We were talking. This is different. We were talking about being at your house in New Kensington and all those years in your parties.
Labor Day.
Yes, that's what I told them over
Would
there.
announce everybody go to Norma's house.
Yeah. I'll tell you about an incident.
Good. So that's why you're here.
There was this people that came from Allentown, and a couple of them were going downstairs. Really, we didn't know them. They came past the window, came in the house. We said hello, everything's okay. And my sons are laughing. And, no, but I didn't know that these George didn't know. I usually know more than he does. And anyway, they gave him something to carry down. The girls upstairs, and we had kibbe on this whole tray, and this kibbe, and they said, just take it downstairs, they told him. And George was downstairs, and he just reached for one. He said, oh, you know, George reached for one. He said, oh, no, nobody's allowed to have any until we put it down. They didn't know George. George looked at him, he said, I live here. I said, it wouldn't give him one. He couldn't even have a.
Crashed your party?
They couldn't. Yeah,
we didn't know them.
Oh, we didn't know half the people that came down, but everybody was invited, and we had great times.
I
Do you
can
remember our grandfather at the picnics? Our jiddu selling the corn.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah. Brahim Monsour.
What's that?
Brahim Monsour. Ibrahim Monsour. He was Abe Monsour. Yeah.
They told the stories earlier. Did they tell the stories about Mommy and Aunt Helen and Aunt Jean and Aunt Tippy? When they were young and they'd come to New Kensington for the picnic, did they have a horse? They'd come with a horse? Horses or a car, they'd come and they'd hide when it was time to go home.
No.
Mother said that they would all hide. All the sisters would hide because they didn't want to go home. They wanted to stay in New Kensington with their cousins.
Yeah.
Exactly relates to
Yeah.
But they didn't want to go home, so they'd hide.
And then
they
they'd
would
get
mad and leave without them. And the next week when he'd come back,
They knew they were going to get a beating. They knew it. They would do it anyway.
They got in trouble all the time.
They did. They got in trouble.
Poor things. They weren't allowed to do anything, though.
But
it was very strict.
They did anyway, though.
they did do
They were what?
They did. They were. And remember the time we do the story about Aunt Jean when she was going to the prom?
Oh, God, yeah.
And they were all excited. All four of the sisters were so excited. Aunt Jean had a new dress and this and that. And it's doggone it, the guy came through the door and Jiddu chased him away. He said, get the hell out of here. And she said, and Mommy said they all four went upstairs and cried on the bed. All four of them cried together. Because Aunt Jean wasn't allowed to go to the prom. She was so excited. Yeah, he was tough.
How were Sam and Jenny, his parents?
Wonderful. Well, these guys are young.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have a lot of memories going to your house.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I remember all that.
Oh, yeah, it was
My
really.
mother was the ruler of the house, but she was smart enough that he didn't know it.
Oh.
You know, he thought he was, but she was the rest.
What was the deal with Alaska? I remember going to Pittsburgh from Erie. We lived 100 miles north of Erie, or in Pittsburgh, and going to my Aunt Lorraine and my Uncle Eddie's house to go there to visit. But somebody had gone to Alaska, and I know there was 3 of you, right? I know you did, but you know, it wasn't like you lifted the phone and said, "Bill, I'm going to Alaska." And I heard about that from my mom and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll never remember the warmth that I felt going there. It was the same thing being at your house. It was like whatever you want, boom, whatever you want.
Do you guys remember that your mom, Aunt Lorraine, I remember I was a little girl, and we'd gone over to your house, and your mother and my mother, they were sitting there and they were talking, and your mother made a comment, and I didn't know what she meant by it, and she said, "Oh, old Eddie, has to do is hang his pants on the post and I get pregnant. Oh yeah. And I looked and I said, I was like, what does that mean? You know, I thought, wow. And my mother started laughing, and the two of them were just like giggling, you know, like whenever they were younger.
Is she naive?
Well,
They said that about me all the time.
I'd never heard that before then or since, that expression. I had no idea what they were talking about. But they laughed so hard, and I was wondering, I was like, what? And they would go, oh, get out, you know, they send me upstairs or something. And I always thought about that.
You weren't allowed to hear
What's that mean?
You weren't allowed to hear that.
I didn't know what it meant. I had no idea.
Was she, Jack?
That's
She wasn't supposed to hear that.
Oh, God.
Dirty stuff.
I know.
Our kids, all our kids.
You know, we should play Family Feud against the kids.
Yeah, there you go.
Ah, do you have questions?
I have, yeah.
Just the one thing my grandmother would always say that I remember in Syrian, this is Helen Monsour, she would say, Yahada Babuda Shatnek, which means damn the boat that brought you here. And she would always say that about my grandmother.
Found out differently, right? You found out differently that it didn't mean that exactly?
Oh,
or someone
yeah,
it was very insulting, actually?
Well, yeah, I told somebody that I knew some Syrian, and I said that, and he says, I know what Yahada means, and I don't know. So anyway,
It's not a very good word, is it?
No, it's not a good
Which one?
Yahada. No.
That means darn, really. That's
Darn.
not bad.
Well, that's not too. I don't think it means darn.
I think it means something.
You guys all said it does, but
I think it means something worse.
I think it meant something a little worse.
I remember.
So they didn't mean it badly, at least.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I can remember Mother used to always say that she would always say damn, shit, and hell, and she said those weren't swear words. Yeah, those weren't swear words. So those are okay.
And she always wore high heels, even though she was really, really short, and it didn't make much difference.
My name's George Elias Jr. This is George Elias Sr. This is Norma Elias, James Elias, my son Jeff Elias, and my brother Rick Elias. What do you remember?
I can't talk, but when you get to be my age, as long as you can see somebody is a good thing. Thank you. Nice being here.
Talk about something at home when everybody used to come to our house.
All these little kids that I see here all grown up used to come and beg me to 10 bar at the Syrian picnic, but I had to give them a drink first.
Tell them you're happy to be here.
Yeah, happy birthday, Uncle Ed. It's great seeing you. It's great seeing the whole family. It's a really nice event, and we're really happy to be here.
Ditto.
Thanks for having me.
I just wanted to say I'm glad that they're here with us, and Rick came in from Virginia this morning to bring us here, and we're just having a great time seeing everybody, all our relatives, and I hope we can do it again very soon. Thank you.
I'm Meena. I'm Victor Meena's daughter. This is my brother Elliot. And we're both here from New York. And it's great to be with everyone and see everyone, especially on such a happy occasion. And it's nice to get reacquainted with family and to get to know some more extended family. So.
And when everyone's done, we give a little quote.
She said it all.
No, come on.
Hi, I'm Elliot Meena. I'm Amelia's brother, Victor and Wendy's son. Penn State just scored a touchdown. And I'm very excited to be back here. I haven't been to Pittsburgh in 22 years, so it's nice to be back with all the family and everybody. And I look forward to more stories.
Hi, I'm Samina.
I'm Scott and Carol's daughter. I don't know what to say. I love it here, and I miss Pittsburgh, and this is a lot of fun, and Sit and Jit are amazing, and I'm really excited to be here. Here's Sarah.
I'm Samira Meena. I'm Paul and Andrea's daughter, and these are all my cousins. Yeah.
I'm Rain Meena. I'm Scott Meena's son. Don't really know what to say, but I'm glad I'm here and everything, and I'm happy to be around the family.
Hi, I'm Jordy Fine. I'm Nikki and Warren's daughter, and we're so glad to have everybody here. This is awesome. Hi, I'm Allie Fine, and I'm Nikki and Warren's daughter also. And it's exciting to have everybody here and to meet everybody that I don't know in our family.
About when like the eggs and everything. He gets mad when we don't eat his eggs. And everybody doesn't eat it.
By the way, I'm in the process of writing a story. Look forward to it.
What about the eggs?
Oh, okay. When Jim's like, oh my gosh, does anybody want eggs? And everybody's like, no. And then he goes, do you want eggs? And everybody's like, no. And then he's like, well, then I'm still making them. And then he gets mad, you don't eat them. I think that's funny. Maybe because I don't live here and I don't experience that a lot.
Tell Situ's Obama thing.
I'm not saying that. That's Jordy's story, if anybody says that. Oh, you have to tell that.
Last night, we were all sitting at the hotel, and I looked at my Jid, and I was like, Jid, what's in your drink? Or what's in your cup? He goes, Scotch, and he looked at us and was like, your Jid is getting drunk tonight.
So our JID is different from theirs. My Alec and Zeta, they passed away a few years ago, but I think one of the funniest stories I have actually isn't involve me, it involves my dad. My JID never had a driver's license, I don't think. I don't think he ever knew how to drive, but he always made my dad, even before I think he turned 16, drive him to the bookies, place his bets. And one time he drove my dad to the bookies, and he made my dad go in with him. He's 16, and they placed their bets. They come out, and some gypsies apparently had stolen their car. Straight out of the parking lot in Louisville. I'm not really sure where they got home. I think they had to call someone else because my grandmother couldn't drive as well. So I don't really know how they got around. That's the only best story I have of my dad. Somebody stole their car, unfortunately. And it's a good story, and my dad tells it better, but that's the one I have.
Okay, I'll tell Latifah Meena's story. This is my grandmother, right, down in Louisville. And it was, I don't know if it was around the Derby, but it was a family reunion. And there was a football game on. And we were all cheering and stuff. And I don't even know if it was the Steelers or if it was Uncle Richie and Little Richie's Minnesota Vikings. But we were all there, and Latifah Meena from the old country was sitting there. And we were just all screaming, you know, every time they'd score, you'd scream and stuff. And all of a sudden, you know, everyone went, Jesus! And we all got mad and we screamed and everything. And she said, oh my God, what happened? What happened? We said, Situ, we lost the ball. They can't find the ball. They can't find the ball. That was our Latifah story. And I hurt my hand.
According to legend, the only words Latifah knew were, where's my pocketbook? And everybody be happy. Do you want a Coke? Those are the only three phrases she knew in English. That was it. Those are the only stories. Thank God? Okay, so apparently my dad lied to us for a while. And speaking of lying about my parents, one thing they like to do to us, calling you out here, on New Year's Eve, I don't know how long they did it. My mother and father like to set the clocks back. So at 8 o'clock, they would tell us it was midnight. We'd bring out the pots and pans, we'd bang them, the neighbors thought we were crazy, and we'd be in bed by 8:30, and my parents go to bed at 9 o'clock on New Year's Eve. Meanwhile, you know, midnight would roll around. I probably woke up crying to all the noise outside, thinking we were getting bombed or something like that, because my parents, of course, they didn't tell us until we were 10 or 11. I guess that's a good trick to play on your kids, though, because we were fooled.
Hi, this well, this is David. Victor and I are here with our sister Zayda Ann, who actually died today, October 18th, 18 years ago. So it's really, and she was, I think for historic family records, she was the first Meena of all the generations to pass away, which was really tragic for us, but what a great testimony of how healthy the Meena family has been. Really good genes, excellent genes. Anyhow, we love having been here, and Nikki and Paul and everybody who put it together, and Eddie and Lorraine, we love you so much. And I live in Louisville and New York, and Victor is in
Florida with my wife Lynn, and our two children Elliot and Amelia live in New York City, and we're just all here today and happy to be here.
And Zayda can't talk right now, but David's going to say a few.
Uncle Eddie, you have the most class and the most genteelness of any person I know, and Aunt Lorraine, you're still the most beautiful woman I've ever seen and met in the world.
And we're all blessed to have been part of Latifah and this enormous clan. And goodbye. The Jacksonville 3 are here. Matt is away temporarily, and we lost Kathy in 2004. So you wanted to talk about a little bit how you enjoy being here and your thoughts about Lorraine and Eddie, and if you can work your dad into this, who was everybody's favorite, because when Lincoln was around, it was just pure joy. So we'll start with the youngest.
Well, I'm John, for you guys that don't know, and this trip has been just a fantastic time and opportunity to get together to celebrate Uncle Eddie's 90th birthday and to be together as a big family. And, you know, Uncle Eddie and Aunt Lorraine, who were there all through our lives, and gosh, I remember being a little kid. Uncle Eddie was the only guy that would go with me on the roller coaster when I was about 5 years old, because Dad, there was no way he'd do it. And I remember the last year that Dad was alive after losing Mom, how much Uncle Eddie was a bridge for Dad, mostly through football and making a few bets, you know, but it was what was Dad looked forward to day in, week in, just a chance to talk to his brother and, you know, have something to share. So that's one of my great memories, and still is Uncle Eddie.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking about it. You know, unlike everybody else, Lincoln wasn't our favorite uncle. He was our favorite dad. And the way he and Uncle Eddie got along, it's like the two of them could yell at each other, just like my brothers and I can yell at each other, and we're still close, and it was just pretty incredible. And I really loved whenever Dad and I would travel, okay, dial Uncle Eddie's number. Well, what is it, Dad? I don't know, remember. You got to know what it is. So eventually I got smart and learned how to save it in the phone so that we could always talk to him. But I loved always seeing Uncle Eddie and Aunt Lorraine. There was just a peace about him. And Aunt Lorraine was such a beautiful woman, and spending time with her, and just even today, spending time with her, she was so anxious to say hello and just hold my hand and just spend it's a little bit of time talking about introducing me to everyone. Just a special lady. And Uncle Eddie, I mean, to me, he looks the same today as he did 30 years ago. He acts the same as he did 30 years ago. You don't know if anything's wrong with him. It's been great, and I've loved this trip with all the family.
Hi, Marion. Wow, this is kind of tough to do. I am very, very happy to be here. Kudos to Nikki Lorraine for pulling all of this off and getting everyone together. It's been an absolute delight to be here for something that's such a joyous event and a celebration of Uncle Eddie's birthday. I remember Uncle Eddie was the one I could always sneak off with and have a cigarette with and not have to worry about getting into trouble. Seeing my Uncle Nicky here today is the first day I've ever met him. And watching him and Uncle Eddie banter back and forth brought a lot of memories back of my own dad. Seeing the camaraderie, seeing all the family here together, and witnessing all of the love, irrespective of what has transpired elsewhere in this world. One thing you can always count on is the love that's always been shared by the Meenas, by the Monsours, by the Nazars, by everyone who's in this room, either spiritually or physically. Thanks.
It's great. It's great to be here. Sorry my wife and kids can't be here. My wife is a little ill, but she's getting better. And it's been a great party. And everyone's been very hospitable. We're having a blast. And it's a shame that we don't do things like this in good times more often. And thank you to Nikki and everyone for putting this together. And we're happy to be here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Latifa Meena. I'm the 25th and youngest grandchild in the family. There were 14 aunts and uncles that I had, well 13 I guess, because my dad's one. I've been very much enjoyed being here this weekend. It's been very emotional for me because my dad is one of the last two brothers still living. And as they told their stories today, it was really hard for me. But I very much enjoyed seeing everybody. I only hope we continue the tradition once everybody as we get older and as my dad crosses and passes and Uncle Eddie, I hope all of the cousins still continue to be together, to grow, to stay in touch, and to keep seeing and being a part of each other's lives. I think that's really important. I just want to thank Nikki Lorraine for doing such a great job this weekend and putting everything together. It's been wonderful to see everybody, and I'm proud that I got to be here, and I want to thank everybody. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. We just wanted to say from the 4th generation that we had a great time here in Pittsburgh, and we will
See you again soon.
Good night and good luck.